My name is Josh Pretzer, and I'm a farmer and a hunter, and I took the Dare to Compare challenge. Let me show you how to get the most out of your investment. Welcome to February's video, guys. This one is going to be centered around native grass, something that's really important to me. I really enjoy the whole process of native grass, so it's something that you know, it's near and dear to me. And I'm standing in a competitor's plot right now, a competitor of Real World. This is cave-in rock, and then back over here behind me, I've got bedding in a bag. In both of these specific blends, it's Indian grass, big blue stem, little blue stem, or sorry, switchgrass, Indian grass, and big blue stem. So I'm going to go ahead and get down, you know, kind of at a comparative level of what a deer would be bedding in, or the height as. And this does provide some cover. You know, this is third year for this stand, and it's done okay, but I'm not going to bash one person or the other. I'm just going to show you guys the side-by-side. This soil is basically the exact same type. I had it soil tested to make sure that, you know, that part of the comparison was even. So we're leaving the cave-in rock now. And the deer do use it some. I've got more quail that use that side than deer, actually. So bear with me as I'm coming over. Okay, so now this is the same blend, but this is first year bedding in a bag from Real World. Like I said, the Indian, big blue stem, and switchgrass. And for first year, this is absolutely outstanding. I'm just super pleased. You know, I'm basically at the point where I'm considering killing out the other stand because it's, you know, about a third of what this one is. And I'm really excited to see what this one does in 2019 here, you know, when it's, you know, much more established. So when I planted the stand that we first started out in, the cave-in rock, it was cheaper than the Real World grass blend, the bedding in a bag blend. This one right here, though, has given me a lot more cover, quicker for one, and then I'm just, you know, just going off of what native grass does. It's just going to continue growing and thriving. That plot over there is, you know, third year, it's done what it's going to do. It's not really going to grow much more. So we're going to run over to the switchgrass now that I planted last year. We're going to give you comparisons over there, and we're also going to dive into the weed control portion. Okay, guys, so we are in the first year switchgrass. This is probably the best case scenario. I mean, this stuff just did really, really awesome. This was no-tilled in. That's my preferred method. We've done tilled versus no-tilled, and I've had better success with the no-till part. So in preparation for this switchgrass stand here, I came in, and it was a soybean field, which is a really good way to plant switchgrass. If you can plant into soybean residue, it just, man, it works really awesome. I've done both types here, planted into soybean residue and non, and I've had good success with both, but soybean is my preferred method for sure. But, you know, not everyone's going to have that scenario. So for the weed control prep, what I did is harvested the soybeans, and I came in about a month or two later. I think it was a month later. And this is going to depend on your weather conditions. And I did what's called a fall burn down. So that's when your winter annuals are up, your mare's tail. And so I came in and hit that with Roundup and dicamba. You can also use 2,4-D. But what that does is that go ahead and kills those weeds. And it's important to do it during a warm stretch. I had about 10 days where the high was in upper 40s to low 50s, and the nights was just down around the freezing point. Came in and sprayed it, so that got rid of the winter annuals, and those are the ones that are going to be the first flush of weeds in the spring. So, and the big one that we struggle with is the mare's tail. So got rid of that. I came in March, and I no-tilled the switchgrass in, and we had pretty good growing conditions early on. And you know, and all of this is going to be a factor on your weather and your temperature and rainfall. it's all going to play into the success of your first year stand. But we started out wet in March and April, and then it dried up, and we had a severe drought the month of May, June, July, and halfway into August. Excuse me. So this grass really had very, very little moisture, but it did, you know, as you can see, really, really well this first year. But back to the weed control. Came in, planted the switchgrass, and then I came back. I kept a pretty close eye on it. And the next weeds that I was really looking for were the pigweeds. Because this was an ag field, I knew that pigweeds were going to be a problem. And so when those came on, it was about, I would say, end of May, around the first week of June. It's going to, like I said, vary depending on where you're at in the country and the growing season. But I came in and I sprayed over the top with 2,4-D, and I went fairly light on the 2,4-D. You want to be just careful with it in native grass. No Roundup, that'll kill your grass, of course, the glyphosate. And so, and that really took care of most of those broadleaf problems. Then I came back in. I did some spot spray about August on any weeds that came up, you know, after that time. And it worked out really good for me. I mean, you can see we just had some ice and a lot of wind, and this stuff has had a we've had terrible weather this winter. It's been wet and snow and ice and wind and snow and ice and wind all winter long. And I came out here, it was the third week of December, I believe it was, and absolutely every bit of native grass, didn't matter if it was cave-in rock, whether it was real world, all of it was laying flat on the ground. And I came back out a week later, and most all of this had stood back up. More of the real world stood up than anything else, and this is, you know, for being first year, that surprised me the most. I thought, you know, having not have been as developed as the other native grasses on the place, that wouldn't have been the case, but it was. So, and we just you know, 2 or 3 days ago got more ice and a little snow and a lot of wind. We had a lot of wind, but and some's laying down, but most of it is still standing and doing really, really good. So that's for the switchgrass part of things, and that's how I went about the weed control. And it's really, I cannot stress enough the importance of making sure that you take the time to properly prepare your soil and the area you're going to work in. So I no-tilled, so like I said, I no-tilled this in, had great results. If you can rent from your local NRCS office, or maybe your local co-op has a drill that you could rent. Some dealerships, right? A lot of dealerships have rental programs for different equipment. It would be worth your time looking into that, and you know, just putting the time in, the amount of effort, and you're going to be rewarded for that. It's worth it, you know, because this grass is going to be here hopefully, you know, long time, and so, you know, it's worth doing the right time. So we're going to another location on the farm. We're going to wrap up this video. So one more thing, guys, is that the Real World seed was, when I first opened it up, that would have been last spring, both the bedding in the bag and the switchgrass was just, it was top notch. Best quality seed I've ever seen, and I've planted a lot of different native grasses. So, you know, I'm really passionate about my deer, and so I want to provide the best bedding habitat that I can. I'm not going for, you know, a middle ground. I'm really going for the best that I can find, and so far Real World has been the best. I haven't been disappointed in any way, shape, or form. It's held true. The Dare to Compare has it's really come out on top, as we saw early in the video, and I'm definitely going to be planting more of it. I'm really excited. I'm actually going to be planting more here coming up shortly, and as soon as the ground dries out, really. So, you know, if you're serious about your habitat and your bedding areas, Real World is the way to go. I mean, the side-by-side shows it, and it's really speaks for itself. So we'll see you guys in the next month's video. Take care.